I sure hope that didn't belong to nobody here.
Check the car.
That was the biggest piece of strength all night, my goodness. As I'm sitting here, I'm wondering what is it that I could possibly say that, like I said earlier, would allow one person to leave this parking lot better than what they came. Stories have been shared, and I'm not going to stand here and sing the blues and say, look at the story I've lived. Because I know that at the sound of my voice, many of your stories are so much more difficult than mine has been. And what came to me was this. I was talking to a young man at the beginning of the night, and we were talking about how he needed someone in his life, someone that built him up and helped him to become all he was called to be. Because you see, real friends will brag about your strengths, but they'll defend your weaknesses. And many of us, as we grow up in life, we never understand and have the privilege of having a true friend. We follow the crowd. If you're going to follow the crowd, you better find out where the crowd's going.
That's right.
Amen.
If you live your life to please others, your life's going to be an emotional roller coaster, up one day, down the next, always at the mercy of the people around you, opinions of you. For myself, that was the same thing. And then October 20th, 2004, to make a very long story short, because like I said, I'm not going to talk about myself tonight. Because we go into those schools and the kids, they want to know how much do we bench press and what do we lift. And Donnie talks about my diet. And it's always about the outward. And that's all it was about before I knew him. It was always about being at the club and having the girls' attention. Guys want me to go out to the club with them just because they knew girls would be there. Having a nice car and great clothes. And even at that time, I knew there was something that didn't feel right about people looking at me like that. So the last thing I want to stand here tonight, Manteca, is have you look at me for anything other than what my heart says. That if you would allow my outward to disappear unnoticed right now, and allow God to turn me inside out so that you can see what's on the inside, because that's where you'll find Him.
Amen.
And on that October 20th, 2004, I stumbled into a church service for the first time in my life. And I walked in there not to receive Bible theology and someone slammed me over the head with their Bible and their religion, but I saw men breaking bricks and ripping phone books in half and bending metal bars. And it appealed to me because it was what I was into. And then someone came forward and he said these three things. He said, I wasted my youth with poor decisions. He said, the only productive thing I do is I work out. And then he said he would build his back arms so big, not to impress people, so when he hit them, they would feel his pain. And when he said that, it was like every wall he had hit in my heart just crumbled. And I walked a long walk that night on that October 20th, 2004, there at 702 Atlantic Street in Roseville, California. And I came forward and I gave my life, like Terry said, not to that church, but to Jesus.
Amen.
But then it went a step further for me because I'd never been in the church. And I said this, it was the first time I ever talked to the so-called God in my life. Because I thought if God was so good or so real, where was He when bad things were happening to good people? And I simply said this, God, if you're real, and I don't know if you are yet, but if you are, please do something in my life. Show me who you are and I'll be yours forever. And not far after that, He showed Himself strong and mighty in my life and on my behalf. And He spoke back to me that night. The first time I'd ever heard that soft, still voice. But it was so powerful, and it said this. He said, one day you're going to travel with that team. And you're going to go into those schools, and you're going to encourage young people, fatherless young men who don't have leadership and guidance. Young ladies that don't know the value that they have, that don't know the respect they deserve. That was 5 years ago, almost 6. Next month, 6 months. And 2 years ago, there I was, placed on that team that now I travel with. And God's promise came to pass. But what I wanted to share with you was this. I got rid of all the wrong people that night. I got them all out of my life. I didn't know the things of God. I never knew a Christian. I knew people that wore a cross around their neck. I knew some people that went to church from time to time. But I never saw anyone excited. Never in my life did one person in 27 years of living ever tell me that God loved me, that ever told me God was good, that ever encouraged me to be all that I was called to be. And so I got the wrong out, and here I was, living alone, all by myself, and I had no choice but to start to hear his voice. I cut off my TV when he told me to. I got rid of my internet when he told me to. And now it was really quiet.
Come on.
And he would speak so clearly to me.
That's right.
And then he showed me how important it was in his word when he said, iron sharpens iron. To have men of God that would be above me in my life that I could look to grow and learn from. For 3 years I prayed that prayer. God, send me someone across my path. And then one day, Darwin, one day at the Lord's Gym in South Sacramento, at a backpack giveaway that Radical Reality was doing, I was carrying bricks and I was mopping the floor. Because I understand the principle of toilets to the top. And I walked outside and I was carrying something, and that man whose humble heart would stand in the shadows tonight, the greatest man of God I've ever known, but he would stand in the shadows and allow the young people to come and share their hearts tonight. Because I'll tell you right now, that man could rock this city right now if he chose to.
Yes. Yes.
But I was passing by him and he said this. He said, Dean, what's your dream? And Darwin, I've never told you this, but no one in my life has ever asked me what is my dream. No one's ever cared enough to know what's in my heart. They always see the outside. No one's ever cared enough to ask what's in your heart, what's your dream. Darwin, you're the closest thing I've ever had to a father in my life. Someone that I can call upon and talk to. And I don't try to elevate Darwin tonight because I want you guys to know this. The lesson I learned in those 3 years of prayer for someone to come into my life was this. Jesus wants us to depend upon him. He wants our dependence upon him. He created us as codependent people. And we take that, we run with it to our drug and our alcohol and to that relationship. But he's calling us back to him tonight. This church, he wants you to be codependent on him.
Amen.
And I don't know who's here. I don't know what this crowd is made up of. I'm sure there's that don't know him. And I'm sure there's the here that think they know him. What I'm just going to encourage you tonight is simply this. That you would begin to silence your life, to cut off the wrong people, which is going to be just about everybody if you got real with it.
Come on.
And that you begin to just listen for his voice, for it is the only way you'll ever hear it, is for you to silence your life and listen.